Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the 2026 New Jersey International Film Festival short film panel and Q&A session that we've set up so that we can turn you on to three really wonderful films that will be screening at the festival, which will be taking place between May 29th and June 7th on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. There's screenings at 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. We're still a hybrid festival, which means that a lot of the films that we're showing are also available online on the same show date for 24 hours starting at midnight Eastern time, Eastern USA time. So the films that we're going to be showing today are going to be taking place on Saturday, June 6th, and the program in person will take place at 7 p.m. And the online version, again, will start at midnight on that day. And we have some wonderful people here today. We have the Clam Guy, which is a short film that was made by Jen Nista and Max Beckerman. And I just found out they're both Rutgers grads, so that's a really wonderful connection. And then we have the director of The Drive, David Arrow here, and he's from New York City, and Jen and Max are from Brooklyn, New York. And then we have Gianfranco Bello here with Stefania, his sister, and she's the lead in his film called Four. So welcome, everyone. Welcome. It's nice to meet you all. Well, Max was one of my students, so I actually knew him before I even knew he was the fellow who made this film, which is kind of shows you how many students I've had. It just kind of becomes a blur after a while, but our jury loved your films. They all have something different to say. And so this is the opportunity to tell our audience a little bit about your film and why you decided to make it. David, why don't you start since you're next to me?
I'm next to you on my screen too, so that's nice.
Yeah.
Well, the drive is, and before if we talk about it casually, I also would like to remind everyone not to give it away.
Yes.
Because it's the story kind of tells itself, and so if you're going to watch it, I think you'll have a much better experience if you don't know about the full content of what the film is. But it is based on a true event in history, and it's something that I stumbled on this event while doing a little research on the sort of bigger piece of this history that we are all very familiar with,
Mm.
and is so well documented and part of the 20th century American experience. But I was surprised that I didn't know this this sort of side note, or I call it a footnote to history. And and I thought it was both really compelling and not really represented in as part of that greater history, and certainly not on film. And I thought it would make a rather succinct, a complete short film. And so that's where I was started. I also knew my wife Amber Paul plays the lead role in the film, and she's, I think, spectacular in it. And I knew it would be something that would show off or take advantage of her wonderful skills as an actor. And it was a huge challenge because it's a period piece and it involved automobiles, and so it was a technical challenge that I wanted to try to meet.
Very good. We'll make sure not to reveal, and the suspense is really important to your film.
I
Absolutely.
think so. It's not meant to be a suspenseful film, but it has a growing awareness of the ramifications of the event, and who's involved and what uh, So I think it's more exciting for people to experience it than be told what it is.
Absolutely. Max and Jen, tell us a little bit about your film, The Clam Guy.
Of course.
Sure. Oh
We
my
have,
gosh.
yeah, Jen and I are coworkers at a company,
Yes.
production company. So we knew each other through this. And one day Jen
For a
came,
long time.
yeah,
Yeah. For
maybe
millions of
10
years,
years
it feels
ago,
like. Yeah.
Jen came into work at was doing this character, which I think she could describe better. And then we kind of came up with it from there. Jen, if you want to.
Oh, sure. So, you know, to put it in a PG way, I was a bit altered on a beach in New Jersey in the summertime.
Not the
And
beach that's behind you now, though, I don't think, right?
oh no,
New
yeah, no,
Jersey.
this is I'm here. This is Puerto Rico though. I'm joking. Um, yeah, no, it's Lavalette Beach for, any Rutgers attendees. I'm sure you're familiar. It's about 45 minutes away. And, there's a bit of back and forth between how this character came about. Uh, Again, because it was so long ago, there's been so much retelling. I think it's become kind of mythic. What we've settled on is that there actually was, this old Italian man who had skin like a leather couch, meaning he was at the beach every single day for his entire life, it seemed. And he was talking about clams. And so I showed up to work the next day or a couple days later, and I get fixated. So I was just speaking in this voice with no context. Have you ever been to the Borgata? You never had, you never seen clams like this. And Max immediately picked it up, and we were just riffing back and forth. And then he was the one who's like, I think there's something here and we could make it something. And I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's how that came about.
Very
Anyway, yeah, 10 years later, we took, a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
iterations. We wrote it, 8 years ago, and then never really did anything with it until a couple of years. So anyway, it took a very
Actually,
long time for us.
yeah, it took a long
Um,
time. We really buckled down when we had time during the strike, I feel like,
Hmm.
because we
yeah.
work in
Okay.
production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So anyway, yeah.
Gianfranco and Stefania, tell us. Your film is the most experimental of the three. David's is pretty much a docudrama of sorts, and The Clam Guy is purely fictional, has some surreal elements, but I think yours is much more surreal and much more experimental than the other two. Tell us about your film.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, I just want to say thanks for having us, and I'm honored to
Yes,
be.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, I'm honored to be among the other filmmakers, and I'm really excited to see everybody's work like on a big screen and looking forward to meeting you guys too. Um,
Yeah.
well, four came about actually kind of in a practical manner. I was looking for something that would be easy to make on my own. Um, so the idea kind of started for a school project, and it started as like I wanted to make a film in one location about. It started as like a man obsessing over an equation that he couldn't solve. And I shared the idea with Stefania, and Stefania was actually the one who then suggested that that was interesting, but maybe the character could be obsessed with, instead of an equation, with numerology and a more spiritual kind of like astrology element to it. Um, and so after that, Stefania co-wrote the script with me, and we kind of would go back and forth. I would like write a draft, and then I would show it to Stefania, and she would either agree with some things or disagree with other things and suggest changes, and then we would go in that way. And we also talked about it really um, in an abstract way too, about like uh, what kind of visual elements would communicate certain like uh more of the experimental ideas. Basically, if you guys watch the film, it starts with a light sequence. So Stephanie and I talked about that,
Yeah,
and entering the doors and leaving the doors and stuff.
right, because I think that it took us a couple years as well, and we would ping pong back and forth again with maybe a line or a certain visual. So it started very small and just like dominoed into this like huge thing that it is now. I mean, huge to me because I'm not a filmmaker, so I look at this and I'm like, wow, this is so cool. But I think mainly it kind of started during like isolation and the pandemic and all of that. It had like that connotation to it as well. And like, how can we make something in one place since we're stuck here already? And like, what else can we do, you know? But also like all the elements of like the spirituality and like faith and I think just trusting, you know, your own sense of self and path. I wanted to really bring elements of like uh there's only so much knowledge sometimes that you can apply to the world. It's more about how do you feel and how you're learning through the world in what you're feeling in your body and everything around you.
Was there a reason why you decided to shoot the film on black and white and instead of color?
I think for me it was a stylistic choice. I really liked the experimental films of Maya Deren, who played a lot with time and continuity and dream logic, and Persona, Ingmar Bergman. So I was just as a film student, I was just like enamored with those kinds of films, and I wanted to harken back to something like that. And I also thought that the darkness and the lightness, which are aspects of the narrative, just lent itself to black and white and a more like gritty look.
Yeah, it's accentuated. I really
Hmm.
like all the films that we're talking about today, but I think your film reminds me of my own work. And I
Yeah.
think we share somebody that I went to film school, well, to art school with as well,
Hmm.
was your teacher, Daryl Wilson. And I know that we both saw Maya Deren at the same time. And you know, Maya Deren's the reason I'm a filmmaker. After I saw Meshes of the Afternoon, I thought, wow, this is crazy. And I really
Hmm.
like that. So your film is the most experimental. David is the most kind of documentarian. The clam guy is in the middle somehow. Was this fellow really did you guys make him up? The clam guy? There's not a real person, right? Like,
No, we I think Max and I both, one of the things we definitely share is kind of an absurdist sense of humor.
hmm.
So like we tend to laugh harder when things get more ridiculous, and that's kind of how this character developed. And
I'll
we,
say, yeah. Oh, sorry. He's not real, but if you meet our actor, Michael Essie, the clam guy, he is also kind of just a character.
yeah,
He like
very
a
talented
bit of it,
man.
yeah. He's actually he was my friend's landlord when we were
Wow.
looking, and we called, and you know, I talked to him the first time on the phone, and he just had notes for hours, like an unbelievable amount, and it all sort of involved, you know, like making this like guy much more like serious and real.
Hmm.
Because when he written, like Jen was saying, is much more and it is absurdist, obviously, but much lighter, like a much kind of goofier tone, like very
I
comic.
wouldn't say
Yeah,
much, but definitely more
yeah,
because we still had darkness to it because that's also something
yeah.
Max and I are attracted to.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but it does, like, he brought a real like, grounding in some way, that because he is like that. He's like, yeah, like I like this reminds me of when I go to the grocery store and I don't stop talking to the guy and they make me leave. We're like, oh yeah.
Oh, that's our guy. Yeah. And he also told us the story that one time he ate like 150 oysters under the Brooklyn Bridge
Oh
So
yeah,
with
that
like
is
a
the
with a
guy.
screwdriver.
screwdriver to
That
open
is the
them.
guy then. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
that is the guy. So
It was
so
ridiculous.
Jen,
It was
you're also in the film too, Jen. You have a cameo in there.
it
The
was not
siren.
planned.
The siren.
Yeah, we called her the clam goddess, and then when we started abbreviating clam guy to CG, it became a mess because they're both CGs. Um, but yeah, it wasn't planned. It was decided kind of the day before, and it was because we were chasing light, so we had to be ready and shooting on the beach. Actually, that's Lavalette Beach, the dream sequence beach. That's Lavalette, and then the
I
Atlantic
like
City
it. It's
beaches.
the close-up shots of you with the light behind you. It's you look very beguiling. So I think the same thing
Thank
with
you.
Stefania in her film. And you know, you guys are able to pull it off. It's not easy. And I think with David's film with his wife, you know, you want to make sure she likes what you do because, you know, having worked with my own wife and other people, you're very conscious of trying to make them look good. And at the same time, you want to make sure you stay true to your vision. So I think all three of you guys pull it off. And I think
Well, I
kudos.
have to say, I'm not, Amber and I work well together. We met, we're both actors primarily. We met making a film together. So our first relationship was a professional one. So we work really well. I think perhaps later in post, I don't look at trying to make her look good more than I would anybody else. Um, because I know that both she and I care about telling the right story. And if it meant her looking, she just happens to look damn good.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
You
and
didn't work too hard.
I have a
Shout out to
wonderful,
wifey.
and I have a wonderful DP who I've worked with before, who, I really trust, and I know that he's going to compose and correct and make and again, first to story, second to anything cosmetic.
Gotcha. All right. Now's the time where you get to ask each other questions, each other's some questions, if you have any. I mean,
Well,
it's a
it's
panel.
interesting looking
Go
at different.
ahead.
I have one for, I guess, for both films, but Clam Guy interested me when I saw you used the widescreen format, and I was curious why you chose that. We did too, but it was very much because it's the style of the kind of the period of the films that we were making at
Uh,
that
Honestly, I
time.
think we wanted to see it on a big screen. I think we
Uh-huh.
wanted to see it wide and look good. I don't. We didn't honestly.
The
We
guy is so wide. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we
exactly. Just
needed
to
to
fit
give
him
his
on.
body space. He needed, space on the screen. I don't know if it was such a large discussion with us. Like I don't know if it was we're doing it this way for this reason. I don't think it was that besides what Max is saying. But yeah. I have a logistics question for you. You briefly touched on like how have you if you've made a film before, I know you were saying like the period piece of it all, like how much I don't know if it can even be quantified, but like the coordinating that goes into that. Like you were saying just the cars. I feel like a lot of viewers don't consider you have to find these period cars and get them all here. Like what what was the most challenging part of that?
Well, I mean, we had to have, again, um, I mean, Alice talked about being sort of documentaries. I don't feel it's really a narrative, but it's of course a true story. So I see why that comparison would be made. But for us, because we not only was it period, but because it was based on factual events, I wanted to be I felt really compelled, even more than I would be perhaps otherwise, to be accurate. So there's not a car that appears there that wasn't pre-1963. Um, and um, and two of the cars, the hero car, the one that the lead Amber drives, is had to be that kind of car. And that was like really contingent. Until we found that car, I didn't think I could make the film. And luckily we did. I've Land Area, my producer, found that car, and after a lot of searches and a lot of um, uh, leads that we tracked down and that ended up not happening. So uh, it was a big consideration and a huge challenge, but one that was quite exciting. We had a lot of cars that showed up for one day we shot for four, and we used them when we could, and a couple were there for two. So we always try to put, to give it more of a life. If it was just one car driving around, it would look rather empty. So we used as many other cars as possible. But that was the largest challenge. One of the other things I would want to point out about our film is it's outside, it's in cars and outside cars, but there's not a single use of um, additional lighting. It's all reflectors and natural light that we did, and that's again a tribute to my incredible cinematographer.
Wonderful. Other questions for each other? We have time for one more.
Well, I guess the same question with for Giancarlo and Stefania. You know, you chose it was a very beautiful, a lot of long shots of just that was more about composition than and then you lived in that composition for a while before moving on. That the wonderful things with the hands coming in. Um, you know, I'm just curious about your there was there was choice of story and there was choice of just pure cinematic interest. And I'm curious, I guess, about how you
Mhm.
balance that or
Yeah.
what the discussion was and how, again, also in your edit, it must have been a huge decision there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. That's actually a really good question. The the balance between the story elements and the more experimental, slow cinema kind of things uh, was a tough line to walk in the edit. There was so much of the experimental footage. I mean, so much of it. And we kind of had to, really, really choose. And even then, it ended up being like a 25-minute film, which I'm grateful that that length was accepted at this festival. But it was really about uh, the whole thing is about Cleo's character and her subjective experience. So um, I think one thing that I have to just point out is just thanking Stefania for her performance and bringing what she brought to the table, because without her character, the visuals sort of fall flat without the supporting emotional arc, and she brought a lot of transformation throughout that character's movement, her obsession with this number and this situation that she can't seem to figure out. But with that came the idea of I think just compression of space and time, and like the subjective nature of like how do we experience subjectively, how do we experience obsession or anxiety. And to me it was interesting to visualize that in a tapestry like way. So I feel that Stefania brought like a huge emotional aspect to it in her character, and like the truth that she brought as a co-writer. And I think that I helped bring this like abstract visual element that like takes you then further into that experience. So I think we worked well together, and it was our first time working together, so it
For
was
sure.
First of
Amazing.
many, hopefully. The
yeah.
first of many.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have just a quick kind of more so a
Sure.
comment, but you touched on it earlier. The pivot to like new agey spiritual numerology. I think that is such a great choice and so smart, especially like with this resurgence kind of, I feel like in the last 5 or so years of people being super into astrology and numerology and what's it all mean. I find that I just love hearing about people's trajectory because our story morphed so million times, so many times in a million ways. I love that pivot. So yeah, more of a comment than a question.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, now comes the time where I get to share screen and show folks how to buy tickets for our festivals. So let's,
Come down and meet us, guys.
yeah, please do.
Yes.
So you guys can see this, right? Sharing screen.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So normally you would go to njfilmfest.com, which is our homepage, and this would open up and everything would be here. You would click on a button and it would all open on our own site. But since we partnered with Eventive, who is our streaming provider, we discovered them very early on during the pandemic. I called a couple of my friends who run festivals elsewhere and said, oh, we're going to use Eventive. I said, okay, let's use Eventive. And we were one of the first festivals to use a streaming platform and during the pandemic. So we've stayed with them and we've really had a wonderful relationship. So what you absolutely need to do though for this placeholder is click on the tickets and info button. And once you do that, it'll open up our homepage on the Eventive site. And you absolutely must click on each one of these red buttons because they all have information for you. The welcome page also does, but it's really kind of generic. But if you need to come to the festival, you want to go to the welcome page to get access to a map of where to go for the screenings. And you can also get free parking in the university lots that are adjacent to the space by clicking on this link. And you just have to register your car. It takes 30 seconds. So at the top, you click on schedule, you get a generic view, very textual view of the festival, old school, and you scroll down and you can see all of the wonderful films that we're showing with blurbs and etc. If you click on the tickets link, which is also on the homepage, this is where you would purchase tickets. And for each one of them, there's a date and it shows you where, you can click on it. And let's see if I can find you guys. Here we go. We get a nice close-up of Stefania. And you would click on this. I don't know why it's in French. Very strange. But I do speak French, so maybe that's why. You want to know more? You click on the learn more, and then you can buy here where this is the purchase link. And that's where you would buy tickets. Tickets are $15 for each program. And that means that you get access to it in person as well as online. Most of the films are available online, and there are, I'd say 2/3 of the screenings are in person. And so whenever both are offered, that $15 buys you access to both. So you could watch the films during the day because the online versions are available for 24 hours starting at midnight on the show date. And then come in the evening to interact with the filmmakers live because there's a Q&A session for the in-person ones as well. And all of these guys are going to be there. So you want to take advantage of that too. You can go back to the festival main site, click on Film Guide, and each one of the films has its own page. So you want to click on the drive, you get a shot from the film and a little blurb and some credits. You want to go and see 4. This is a shot of Stefania, and you've got a little bit more information there. We go all the way down and see if I can find, I did the drive. I have to do clam guy. So where is the clam guy? I passed it. There it is. So there's all the women are in here. That's pretty cool. So that's the sexy shot of Jen in the movie.
Woo.
Yeah, that's right. And so that takes care of showing those buttons. The menu button on the upper left gives you access also. And if you want to buy an all access pass, it's $120. If you want to see like 2/3 of the movies, it's really worth its weight in gold because you'll save a lot of money that way. And that's an overview of our site. And I'm going to stop sharing and say thank you to all of you for participating in our short film panel. And I look forward to meeting you all in person. And I think it'll be a love fest. There'll be a lot of filmmakers that evening. And tell your friends and bring them because you want to see these films on the big screen. We have a 20-foot screen, high definition projection. The space is stadium seating, soundproofing, excellent sound system.
Woo.
So it should be a lot of fun. I was involved in upgrading the space, and it took forever to get it to happen. The university is, moving from one format to another is like the Stone Age. Trying to get them to upgrade to 4K now is gonna take a while. I think
Good luck.
4K's out, 8K will be out. So anyway, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
us.
I look
Thank
forward
you,
to
Kevin.
meeting you
Glad to meet you
Look
again.
guys.
forward to meeting you all.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye bye.